Right, everyone. So, welcome back to the Jesus.
Now we know why Aidan hasn't hosted.
I'm keeping that in.
Yeah, that's staying in.
All right. For the listeners, I got two into the zone.
This is
there.
the chance to promote.
Plug the Super Circuit podcast. Anyway.
No.
All right. Anyway,
don't listen to the Super Circuit podcast ever. Don't do it.
So, hey everybody, welcome back to the Dripping Hartnell Podcast. And today I'm joined by Louise.
Buongiorno.
Connor Sumner.
Hello.
And Mr. Connor Chadwick.
Hola.
So today we are going to be talking about the recently released episode of the three specials from the 60th anniversary, Wild Blue Yonder, which aired on the 2nd of December, this Saturday. So, what do we think, lads?
Brilliant.
I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely fantastic. This, honestly, in my mind, is some of the best Who that we've had in a long time.
Mm. Definitely.
This is what I definitely consider this another kind of midnight level story.
Mm-hmm.
It's that good.
Yeah,
like the Star Beast was good, but this was better.
I always like it when they have creatures and monsters that can't be explained. Like in the story, they explain part of their origins. They say how they began on this journey, but they don't say where they're from or what they are, and it's left really ominous. Yeah. Just like, again, I think it's a good parallel to Midnight.
Thing is, they were never properly named, but I'm really glad that everyone I'm seeing talking about them is referring to them as the Not Things, because that's how I was always going to refer to them after that.
Well, didn't they? Isn't there a line in the episode where they go, "We are not things"?
They say we are not things, but I don't think that was. I don't know if that was intended to be. This is what we are.
No, it's because Donna says, "What are those things?" And they go, "We're not things."
We are not things. Yeah,
but I like that as well because it gives it kind of that creepy factor.
Yeah,
I think what we can really summarize about this episode is Catherine Tate and David Tennant are incredible performers.
God, yeah. I mean, it's an opportunity. It was an opportunity for Russell to just put David and Catherine on just a few sets as well, because there weren't many sets used. A lot of them were reused, and just have them act off each other and nobody else apart from the beginning and the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at it, the set they were on, for the main corridor was just a massive just green screen set with a bit, and with a few interactable bits. For anyone who hasn't seen it, behind the scenes and Doctor Who Unleashed are in really good watches. The ins and outs of how they made that episode work, really good. Especially Jimbo, the pup.
I love how they done the robot, because it was basically a massive puppet.
Yeah. I also really like how it was bigged up and as this this. Oh, who's this character? And everyone was like, "This is going to be this one of those, really cute. He's a cute robot character, and he's got all this character." And then he turned out to just be
push the button,
a silent robot whose only purpose is to walk slowly down a corridor and press a button.
Yeah,
I thought that was really funny.
I like See, it's an interesting like thing to put him into, like, you know, situation, because like you at the beginning, you know, you start out with, you know, it's just your generic kind of Doctor Who thing of, oh, the TARDIS is out of control, and then it just sort of crashes. Which I'll just point out right now, 14 is really bad at driving the TARDIS.
Oh, God.
Like
he learned from 5.
God, like that's 2 walls. That's 2 walls no one is record he's crashed into.
See, the thing is, what's funny is I wasn't sure if the TARDIS crashing was going to be a part of something, because the way that it landed in Destination Skaro was the same way, you know, that it lands in Star Beast. And I thought, oh, maybe that's a running gag or something. That's just how it's landing because of that. But when it didn't do that in Star Beast and it crashed into all, I was like, so he has no excuse for Destination Skaro.
No, yeah.
He landed in Destination Skaro the same way as he did in this story, but the difference is that the TARDIS was a fireball.
I guess the excuse for Destination Skaro is that he'd only regenerated an hour ago.
Yeah, it's like the typical post-regeneration.
Yeah.
You could also argue that, like, if anyone's read the comic, the console has something melted on it, so that's why he crashed in that story. But yeah, it's just telling.
I suppose that's the reason why the console changed then.
Yeah,
because something melted onto it.
Yeah, I mean that's like, you know, it's a good way to sort of explain the way, because I'm going to say I don't know the ins and outs of the BBC or Bad Wolf budget, but like I imagine they really didn't want to have to go through all the pain of rebuilding an entire TARDIS set just for at least, was it nearly 2 scenes?
Yeah,
I think though with the TARDIS interior, they still could have got the central console, and they, considering that they've got Disney budget, my view is they could have. Well, that's the thing, like how they filmed The Mandalorian with massive screens around them. They could have just made the TARDIS around that and just had the console in the middle.
Possibly.
That's my feeling on it. I get the whole money thing. They want to invest in the new TARDIS. It just always felt a bit annoying that, you know, they build it new and then it just got destroyed immediately. And I was like, oh. But I get why.
But then it was put into self-repair, and then it's fine and the same at the end.
It's an interesting thing, because the TARDIS's continuity in terms of how the mechanics work of it seemed to constantly change. Like the TARDIS would go into self-repair automatically whenever it crashed like that, but in this case they had to do it manually.
Yeah,
you can imagine that maybe there was maybe he just thought, look, maybe he's built the Sonic to be more integrated with the TARDIS, so that's why the keyhole aspect is sort of integrated there.
I wonder if the TARDIS was damaged enough that it didn't need to do such a drastic self-repair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he looks in and you can imagine like what it must have looked like with all the panels probably falling out. Like you can see all like the framework of it hanging out, and you're like, no, that's something that isn't entirely. You can salvage that, but they needed it done manually, like manually, automatically. So, and I always like the way that it's a nice little. I keep seeing Doctor Who references in these, like the sensor. There's like that whole thing with the key lock and everything was a Sensorites reference.
Yeah,
because the Sensorites just took the lock out of the TARDIS because they wanted to. Like they were like, "How do you do that?" And he's like, "Magic." But I like that because he was getting an actual screwdriver and taking the lock out to put the Sonic into it, and I thought, you know what? Actually, it probably wasn't such a direct Sensorite reference, but Chad saw it. Just recognises Hartnell references.
But then it also was just a surefire way to get rid of the Sonic for the episode.
Yeah,
I mean, both the Sonic and the TARDIS, and essentially, then you just have the 2 characters, which it worked out. I mean, you know,
exactly.
I mean, the one thing that I was kind of like interested about was the way he taught, like the little references he gives with the HADs. Like he just goes, "Oh yeah, the TARDIS just, you know, will take off and just go, you know, go away for a bit and then come back." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I drifted in space for like 2 or 3 years." I'm like, what?
Here's the thing, though. Again, I don't want to get too much into it because we haven't even got into the story. I'm getting into how the TARDIS mechanics work. The HADs, in the previous situations where we've seen the HADs, the TARDIS hasn't returned. Like Cold War, they were in the, what was it? They were in the North Pole, and then
it ended up in the South
Pole. So they had to travel to it. Whereas here, it comes back, and I was like,
in the opening 2-parter Series 9, they had to bring it back manually with the Sonic Shades. because the Daleks tried to destroy it and it scattered itself into atoms. And then there was the whole thing of the Sonic Shades reveal. That was what brought it back.
Yeah, I think that was the hostile action dispersal system.
Oh, right. All right.
Yeah, that wasn't hostile. That wasn't hostile action.
Displacement.
Yeah, displacement. It was a dispersal. It was just a way to get around it. But no.
So now the TARDIS just has two separate functions, both called the HADs.
Yeah. I suppose it's a case of it acts like it's been destroyed so that nobody finds it again. I suppose it's a situational based thing. But in the same way that we've noticed in the siege mode again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, like, in this sense, it does take the TARDIS out and, by extension, the Sonic, by being in the keyhole, out of the story, as you said. And it leaves us with just the Doctor and Donna wandering about this spaceship. And honestly, you really, like, because... Has anyone seen that little clip of Russell talking about, like, keeping the episode secret?
Yes.
Before we go on to anything else, because Ross, I like his explanation of how he said, look, we just wanted to keep the idea of the story a secret just because we thought it'd be a nice thing to show off, you know? Which
for me worked in its favor, because he was worrying that, is it going to be detrimental to the story because people are going to be expecting Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi to be in it? But that's the thing. People expected Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi to be in it. There was no prior, like, indication at all that they would be in it.
Yeah.
That is entirely down to the fans being like, it's going to be them. No, it like... And I mean, I wasn't expecting it. And also I don't really care, because it was, it was just a good way to have David and Catherine bouncing off each other.
I don't feel like it needed to be multi-Doctor. Because I know, like, in the interview thing, Russell was like, "Oh yeah, we were going to have William Hartnell in their locker," and I think that would have scarred Connor for life.
I think that was like a concept idea, but I was just, when you think about it, it technically was a multi-Doctor story. When you think about it, but it was done in a way that was interesting. Like, it was like
it subverted expectation.
So what did we think? What did we think of the story, the premise, and all that?
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, it's the classic sort of alien imposter thing, but it felt fresh in my mind, and I mean a lot of the things were really, really creepy. The whole "my arms are too long" thing.
I think what made that better was how, I've said this when we were chatting earlier, but there was no indication whatsoever until they showed that shot of David still by the water things. And then the camera was zoomed in really close to David. And I'm like, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
I say, and then I think it's the way they approached the whole, "my arms are too long." It's very much a statement. And then you're like, what did he just say? I think that was brilliant, the way they went about that. Fantastic.
And it was like, the other line was, "we get hungry, don't we?" And I'm like,
oh yes, we get hungry, don't we?
I like the little subtleties, like with the tie.
Yeah.
They went, I see. It's the way they learn about how reality works, and that's what kind of makes them more interesting. They don't know physical matter.
When things disappear, they keep existing.
Oh no! Things like when something is gone,
it keeps existing.
Yeah, because he puts the tie down and it obviously just goes.
It goes away.
Well, it's like I like the whole, how many kneecaps? Oh, 2. Oh, that's where I went wrong.
Yeah,
and it was. Sorry, go on, Aidan.
Oh no, I was gonna say it's the same with like emotional stuff. Like they don't understand that, when you're having an emotional moment, you keep it going, and then they, like, we'll talk about that certain scene in a minute, but like it's interesting how they're trying to figure out how both the Doctor and Donna work emotionally, intelligence and all that. And it's that one scene where about thinking, and it was really weird. Like
it really gave a good reason, because like you're saying there, Aidan, like I was wondering, like going, they're trying to learn from them, but they're trying to chase them down like they're trying to kill them.
Yeah.
How does that work? And then as soon as they said, well, adrenaline makes you think faster, we make the connection to you faster.
Yeah.
Because
that's how they're learning.
Yeah. So that's why they have to go completely slow. And do you know what I also love as well? Just as a quick side note. I love the fact, and I don't think I don't think other showrunners have really done this as good as Russell has, which is when you have the story that you're in already have a story before.
Oh yeah,
about the previous captain. Like, it isn't the first time that these things have been beaten before by people before. Like, it's not just a thing that the Doctor comes in and solves it all himself, and he was the only one who could do it. Other people have done it before, but it's about figuring it out and finding out the best way to stop it for good. And I just loved, because I saw that, when they opened the screen roof to reveal the captain. Yeah, that gave me Impossible Planet vibes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and it was just the way that it was all just very sad and solemn. And it's been ages since I felt that about a Doctor Who story where the story had a story before. Yeah. No, it didn't just start with them. It started way.
Part of the actual meat of the story is they have to figure out what happened before they arrived.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's the thing of like, I think Russell has done something interesting with the idea of the edge of the universe.
Yeah.
It's like,
and creatures that inhabit it.
Yeah, like the way that, like, when the Doctor spoke about it, like leaning against the glass and saying this is every kind of possibilities and everything. I'm like, are you trying to loot? Like, it's like Russell is telling us this is the area I want to go into for the next.
Yeah.
Well,
series.
Connor had a theory about the ship's captain and why the ship was out there, didn't you?
All right.
Chadders.
Did I?
About the whole going to the flux thing.
Oh, well, that's because they mention it. What did I say?
This is live, listeners.
I couldn't work today. It's been a long day.
The whole so they went out of the flux to see how far the flux went.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what you said now. That's great, isn't it?
I like the way that the edge of the universe is handled, because the only reason the universe has an edge now is because of the flux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know that what I've also noticed is quite interesting about that is the fact that it's not expanding, which means that there is an end of the universe now. Necessarily what I was saying to Abby before, but I just found it interesting how it was able to be linked in quite nicely to Flux and the Timeless Child. And a lot of people have commented about how they feel more connected to the story now.
Yeah. That scene.
So if anyone doesn't know, obviously, let's go quick. I mean, if anyone's here watching or listening to this and has not seen the episode,
why are you here?
Why are you here?
Why are you listening to this? Go and watch the episode first, then come back. Pause this, go and watch the episode and come back then.
Spoilers, I guess.
Spoilers. The storyline is nearly 4 years old.
Anyway, it's 3, 2, 1. There's a scene where the Doctor is talking to, as you realize, the fake Donna, but the fake Donna brings up the fact that the Doctor's suffering from the flux and not knowing who he is because of the events in the Timeless Children. And
I think do you know though, when they done, as soon as he went, oh yeah, Gallifrey, and she was like, yeah, but you're not from Gallifrey, though, are you?
You're not from there,
and
though,
literally, my little boy went, oh, Timeless Child.
Yeah.
I got shivers because I was like, even to an extent, I'd forgotten that,
Yeah, because they didn't make a big deal out of it. They never 13 had never got a chance to breathe.
No, yeah.
He never got a chance to kind of process what was going on. So I think 14's kind of had that moment of, oh, crap.
I think a lot of people forget that Series 13, for for 13 anyway. I know that for Yaz and Dan, it was more a few years. But literally, from the perspective of 13, Series 13, the Flux, and then the specials took place over the course of a fortnight.
Yeah.
Like there is that is no time to process it. That's why I feel it's really good to show 14 vulnerable. That it like even though they changed their face and moved on, they actually haven't, and they're still carrying it.
I think, like, if I can give an example, my mother was watching it with me yesterday because she hadn't seen it the night before, and she was like, "Was that something we saw 2 years ago?" I went, "Yeah, that was the one where it was destroying the universe." She went, "Oh yeah," and she saw the scene and went, "He's not right after that, is he?" And I went, "No."
The bit
like
that... Sorry, go on. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, it was just the bit with the vent, that bit. She was like, "Oh no."
Yeah,
I like the fact I saw a really good tweet talking about that, because they were saying a little thing which I hadn't picked up on and I thought was really interesting was 14 has that moment of vulnerability, shouting, punching, and a lot of people were wondering, why does 14 say good?
Yeah.
And somebody had a theory, and I'm not going to lie, it's my headcanon now, which is he's saying good because nobody saw him do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody saw, not even, and Donna didn't see that
outburst.
Yeah.
The bit that really gives me chills from it is, of course, the scene where he's sort of like having that screaming fit and kicking and punching the wall. It's this bit while they're still in that room and they're talking about it before the reveal that it's actually they're not Donna in the room. And it's the bit where he's talking about like half the universe destroyed because of me. How am I supposed to look back on that? Donna goes, "It wasn't your fault." And the way he just screams, "I know." It's that really gives me chills. Yeah.
Because it's like this man, like you can imagine, right? And I'm saying this, boys, the fact that, like, look, not to throw shade at Chibnall, but Russell I'll say this, Russell gets character. He really gets, like, goes deep into like how a character is, their background and everything. With the Doctor, Russell has been with us, the fans, over the last 3 years, in and out watching the show. And he's seen how much this character has had to go through since he left. And
I just find it funny how. So I'll let.
No.
I just find it funny how Russell has paid more attention to the lasting effect of the Flux and the revelation of the Timeless Child more than Chibnall did.
Hey, but I generally think that was because it all happened so quick.
Yeah,
I feel the problem was that Chibnall wasn't being clear enough in his writing regarding the fact that 13 doesn't open up to anyone.
Yeah.
Problem is I don't claim to be. I don't consider myself a writer, but from what I've always seen that Russell does, in comparison to other writers, is there's something that I saw called the Power of Three, and no, it's not that story. Basically, you mention it 3 times.
Oh, right.
Like a beginning, middle, and end. So the beginning being them stood against the glass talking about the edge of the universe. The middle being 14's breakdown, and then the ending being when they're talking in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That's why we remember it, because that plot had its own storyline. And that's what I feel sometimes, especially with Chibnall, his ideas are there when you look back on it, but the problem is you have to really look back to notice it. And it's sometimes true in some writers, like it was the case with whenever I watched any Moffat stuff, I didn't get the story until it was over because it wasn't entirely clear what was happening.
You didn't really know. You didn't know where to look, sort of thing.
Yeah. Whereas here, this is something that I feel like
clear and directional.
Yeah, but also having heard what the plans are for 15, where he's actually going to be masking a lot anyway.
Yeah.
I can see now certainly how it's going to carry over from 14 here, because you got to think as well, the Doctor's literally just done it. the flux,
everything
like that. It's literally just been done. And the only problem is, of course, is that with the show not being on as much, the show is meant basically that we are more distant from it than the characters are.
Yeah. True.
Well, that's annoying.
Can we talk about the screen coming down? You know when we know when the screen came down and divided.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You taking
to the Maxifield.
Yes.
You're stealing my point, are you?
I am. I'm pointing. I'm pointing towards you, though.
Live on air, Abby Louise.
No, that was me sidelining into a point that Connor made.
Oh yeah. The screen that comes down to divide them is the same screen as Meep ship.
Same one from the Star Beast, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people have noticed it on Twitter as well, and just sort of said, "Oh yeah, using the same props like the BBC always do." And I'm like,
they would have changed it. They would have taken bits off of it and stuff.
I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy nut about it, but it just seems weird that why would you use the same screen?
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it. Just like I don't. And when you look at the design of this ship, and certainly the cockpit, and you look at the design of the Star Beast one, they are very similar. So obviously you've got like the style, the colors of the metal, the design of the technology within it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more connected than it is.
How beautiful were those sets?
Oh.
Like the honeycomb type look of the file room, and then like the way the water was like reflecting on the wall. How beautifully shot.
It's so gorgeous.
Do you know what it was in those drawers though?
Hair gel.
Yeah. Yellow hair gel.
Little did they know that their lieutenant would be allergic.
I've seen so many edits of him regenerating in that bit.
Yeah. I liked that as it was sort of a fake out, because it was in Unleashed the week before. It showed that clip with just him like starting to choke.
I did say to Noah, like, oh, that's going to be him just messing. But I like them doing that because that shows how close they are as friends.
Yeah.
They're like teasing one another.
Plus, it is kind of like what I have noticed. Certainly now that Donna's got her memories back, the way that they talk and what to one another, they are like. If you look at it back, like Series 4 era, they had just become friends and they were young, and now they are a little bit more mature.
Yeah.
But still kind of got a little bit of that sort of childish nature, you know?
Messing around, winding each other up. Bit of banter, innit?
a lot of people have made references to the Big Finish audio scherzo for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this was the point.
But Donna didn't have to eat her own child using a boat.
That's true. Yes. This was a point I was going to bring up earlier in like the similarities with Scherzo. I love the concept of like the sort of villains of a story being creatures of the abstract. I love it so much because you can explore that to such an insane extent, because these are creatures that are not of this universe, so they can be or do anything. Because like Donna went on the whole thing about like, oh, Sean always complained about this watching Venom films. Where do they get the extra mass from? They don't need to get the extra mass from anywhere. They're not from this universe. They don't abide by the same rules. It's the same concept as like the boneless from when we watched from Flatline.
Oh, true.
They're creatures from
that, like you say, they are beings from a dimension. Not a multiversal dimension, just a dimension within our own physics that we do not understand. Like,
so they abide by different rules.
Yeah, like the flatline creatures are just from our second dimension. We exist in the third.
In the same way that the boneless don't understand 3 dimensions and are trying to understand it, the not things don't understand shape or mass. And they are trying to replicate it and understand it by replicating other beings that have shape and have mass. But they obviously don't abide by the same rules that we do, so they can change their shape and they can change their mass.
What do you think? How much were you screaming at the telly at the end? And I'm on about the swap the wrong one.
Oh
Oh,
God!
Let's say something controversial.
Oh.
It would have been better. All right, hang on. I'm going to say this in an outrageous fashion. It would have been better if Donna died.
I see. I've got. If they had more than 3 episodes, I reckon they would have done a swap.
Yeah.
But because they've only got 3 episodes, it's too much to cram in at once. If they had been given a whole series, 100% they should have swapped the Donnas.
I was all for this idea of, because I always I know that narratives don't necessarily work like this in TV anymore, but I'm always for breaking the mold on something like that.
Yeah.
But doing something like that for the final story, and bear in mind, because I thought, how would that be handled, I'd love to see how that would be.
Yeah.
See, if it was me and I'd written that and I'd swapped it,
yeah,
she would have been, that creature would have been part of the toy maker's thing. So the toy maker would do this big display and then he'd be like, come here, Donna, and then she'd just go and stand by his side.
And then the doctor before realising what he's done.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I would do it. But
it was, I've said this in just in general conversation before. It was less me screaming at the TV and more like it was that bit where she's like screaming, going, "You've got the wrong one, don't leave me here," and the TARDIS is just going. And also the bit where she goes, they go, "Taxlardia," goes 0, starts exploding, and she's just sat there. She's like, and she's just accepted, I'm going to die in this moment.
Literally, I wasn't screaming, I was just going, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
But it was that, and the bit after they've escaped and they're in the TARDIS just sort of holding each other in silence. They were the bits where I was just going,
the
fucking hell.
Catherine, in that one bit when she was just showing up at the sky, you've got the right. Oh my God,
I was just blown
underrated
away.
Actress, it's ridiculous.
I was absolutely blown away by it.
Also, I kind of wish, I don't think they should have had an argument over it before anything, before I say the rest of this, but it's really an exploration of identity as well. Yeah. Because they've known each other for that amount of time, and then the Doctor picked the wrong one. Yeah.
I think that's what, the hug and the silence at the end is just him silently saying, I'm sorry, I messed up.
I'm so sorry for doing that.
Yeah.
But of course, it's all sort of explained away with the fact that he took her, but then was like, but what's wrong? And then scanned her, and then had the callback of, your arms are too long. I really I was gonna bring this up. I just really like that now we've actually seen the new TARDIS being flown.
Yeah.
I just really like him actually playing with all the fucking levers and shit.
Yeah. Have you seen how they done that scene?
The fucking floor.
You know the scene where he's basically Back to the Future in with the skateboard. It's just on a forklift and they're just moving it really slowly with Dave.
I also, by the way, I just have to say props to this. The TARDIS looked fantastic.
When the floor flipped. I hope they use that again. I love that idea.
I'm living for it. I love the way he did it as well. The whole turn the big clicky dial. This is just me being a nerd about buttons and switches and stuff, and just being like, I want to just go on. Because when the new TARDIS was revealed, everyone was like, oh my God, I want to go in there and run around and just run around all those ramps all day. I want to go in and just play with everything on the console. Because I'm the kind of person who just loves the tactile feel of pressing buttons and flipping switches and pulling levers. I'd just be in there just playing with everything.
I think the designer, Phil Sims, said he made it partially organic, partially mechanical, because he knew we got to bring in bits of the old, bits of the new. But they also said they wanted to make it what is it, a tomahawk? What's it called? Is it called a tomahawk or another thing? It was a kind of generator thing or something. They said they made the room look like it was based off, and it's just
right.
And it's the one thing
I know vaguely what you mean.
Yeah, And it's interesting to see how, like, when the ship, the TARDIS takes off, obviously, and it's flying away from the ship as it explodes.
Yeah.
I love how the interior reacts to it. Like, it all goes red and everything. I'm like, thank you. The ship actually is, like, saying, yes, we're in danger. I got to get you out of the danger before we go into, like, blue lighting to say we're okay. And just one other thing is, I did like, when, like, 10 was in that blue room with all the, like, kind of water stuff and whatever, like, just turning, like, dials and stuff and trying to. I love when he talks about how he's like, I've always wondered where the TARDIS goes when I'm not there, and he just goes in this really, like, interesting story about the TARDIS lands on a beach. This tribe worships it, then later on they build a city around it.
Do you know what this is kind of like wishful thinking, but do you know what I really, now that you've brought that up, do you know what I really hope happens now? That there's an episode in the future with, like, Shooty, and it explores that, and it's a whole thing of during Wild Blue Yonder, the TARDIS landed on this outcrop by the sea, and it was like they land in this city, and they get worshipped because the blue box has come back. That blue box that was there for so many years and then disappeared.
I will say, I do like about that episode as well is the characterization of the TARDIS. Even though, but I liked that the little comedic moment when when the Sonic was put on, all you could hear was things falling over inside the ship, and then before the light just goes bing. So but then also the way that he, like you said, the way he talks about it, the fact that the TARDIS is just a constant.
Yeah.
Essentially, everything's turned to dust because of how long it's been. The TARDIS is still sat there.
What is with the song though?
Wild Blue Yonder.
Never heard that song in my life.
No, neither have I.
I think it's obviously meant to be a reference to the fact that the creatures are coming for war.
Yeah. And they are from the Wild Blue Yonder. They're off from this place beyond the
really
universe.
Random song. It must be a Welsh thing.
I like the way that the creatures just have a simple goal, which is we've heard your wars, we've felt them, and we wish to play your games as well.
Completely changing the subject. Well, not changing the subject. Going straight all the way. So we're going to talk about the beginning and then the end because that makes sense. We've spoken about the middle. Isaac Newton.
That's I had no issue with how he looked.
No, I had no.
A lot of the internet kicking off, and I didn't
really give a shit. Yeah,
I don't care.
In fact, when it was one of those things where only when I looked at Twitter did I go, oh yeah, I never actually put two and two together that the casting. I never thought anything of it.
Yeah.
The one thing that has made me giggle though, and it was another thing I saw on Twitter, was the fact that when they were saying, Isaac Newton's hot, and then somebody's been sharing this wiki page, and it's like, Isaac Newton died a virgin, and he's there like, I think that's the thing that made me chuckle the most.
I saw this tweet from Mr. TARDIS, which I really liked, where he just goes, "You're right, Isaac Newton wasn't Asian, but Charles Dickens didn't blow up ghosts. Agatha Christie didn't fight off a giant wasp. Mary Seacole didn't treat Sontarans. Van Gogh didn't stab an invisible chicken. Exactly. It's Doctor Who, get a grip, and they say we're the snowflakes."
I'll tell you the one thing I did love was, obviously it's from behind the scenes stuff again, is they were never anywhere near, they never even met the dudes that played Isaac. They were like 25 miles places.
Yeah.
They literally they were literally like in a car park, balanced on a tire in half a tree, and they've just been like digitally inserted on the top of it. It was brilliant.
I love how you just have that, like, Tom Kingsley, the director, just went, oh yeah, here's a picture of, like, the guy. I can't remember the guy's name who plays Isaac Newton, but he's there under the tree. And you got the two guys up in the tree.
Yeah, there's just two. There's just two.
And then a box full of them.
There's just two people throwing apples at him.
It's honestly, I love that piece. I really want that for Shooty's era as well, where it's just more random pieces of Who that just pop up. Just and just
to finish it off, Bernard Cribbins.
Oh.
That is the correct response. Well done.
This episode has been really attentive. Like all the characters have been so attentive, and that last scene just
I just love the look of just joy on his face, especially after after 14 says his name. It's like he grabs his arm and he's like, "Oh my God." It's like I love just the look of pure joy on this sweet little old man's face. It's so beautiful.
Because you got to think the way that Wilf was left, like from the doctor, like from his perspective, 10 had just given him, a lottery ticket to him that ensured that Donna would have a good future and stuff. And he told Wilf, "Yeah, I'm going to regenerate, but this version of me is going to be gone, and I'm not really in a good place." And they both leave on very kind of, they both left. Yeah. So now, like for Wilf, he's just like, "You've got that face back, and my granddaughter is properly safe again. I can, think about you and not feel bad about it."
Oh, it was so sweet. It was only about 20 seconds long, but it was perfect. And I'm so glad they managed to get that tiny little scene out of him,
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like, out of all, I know they mentioned that they had stuff and ideas for the giggle, but that one scene with just that he gets everything kind of gets cleared up, and he gets to have like a nice hug with the two of them, and just like in a way, he introduces the next story. He's like, I love it. I'm like I feel like I'm in 2008 again. The way he's talking about it, them aliens.
Yeah.
Damn aliens.
It's them aliens again. I'll bet my pension.
Oh, and
I also just like the old soldier feel of him, where he's like, "The family's fine. I told him to bunker down. I'll keep watch." He's sort of taken charge. He's this 94-year-old man.
He was like that.
Still
anyway.
brave as anything.
He was always like that.
No, yeah. He's still got that bravery to him, where he's like, "You bunker down, I'll keep watch. I'm sure that the doctor's gonna come back."
And he said that. He said he'll come back and he'll save us, and I'm like, yeah, that I love that from Wilf. Like, but the one thing I do want to know is how long has it been since they've been gone?
Well, he said it was only. He said he was going to be a couple. They were like a day or two out, which I think is interesting. Where all of this has gone down in the space of a couple of days, because that just shows like the amount of stuff that the toy makers just that gives like a real sort of insight into the magnitude of the toy maker's power. That he's managed to cause all of this in a couple of days.
I reckon he was just waiting for the day when there's not to like, what's the word without saying, the week without the doctor, let's say.
Yeah.
Like, so the doctor's not there, so the toy maker's just like, "Hello, have you met me?"
Yeah. And also it's the thing of like, all right, if anyone, you guys might, know this line thing. At the end of the episode, before they land, like 14 is basically saying, if anyone's seen the scene with the salt, 14 is like, "I invoked a superstition at the edge of the universe." And I'm like, what have you done? Because I feel like Russell wouldn't just leave that bit of like line in if he wasn't going to follow it up with something.
Like Mavity.
Exactly. He's leaving this in, and he's kind of just I either think it's something that lets the toy maker in, or he's saying that other things have been left in because the doctor did some, like, basically invoking a superstition means anything really, and that's one of the most dangerous things you can do at the edge of the universe.
The thing that made me giggle behind the scenes again was the whole
just like how you keep mentioning
the whole Mavity thing.
Yeah,
the Mavity.
Catherine's going, I just don't understand. Why did I change it to Mavity, but you're still saying graffiti? And David literally turns into the doctor at that moment and tries to explain the whole concept of time and like.
Yeah. This is the young David Tennant. Like,
she goes. Well, that was a boring way of explaining it.
Because like the way we got to look at it is David watched like all the early Who, and you can imagine it's that inner fan in him that's just like popping out, the one who watched Pertwee and
Oh
Baker.
yeah, he's just fan spanning. Like, I love that man. Anyway, so how did we find it? Brilliant, fantastic,
brilliant,
amazing.
Fantastic. My favourite one so far.
Indeed.
Do we want to give any just to throw it out there for the group? Do we want to give our thoughts on the trailer that was released right after?
I'm very excited for the giggle. Really excited for shooting. Really excited for NPH. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be brilliant. And again, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to finally get Shooty on screen, because my thing since day one was like, as excited as I am for the 60th, I really want it out of the way so we can see Shooty on screen, because he's one of the greatest actors of our age, I think. Exactly. So I think he's going to smash it.
I'll ask Mr. Chadwick over here, because Toymaker is someone from a character from his favorite era. How are you feeling for it, sir?
Is that again?
Oh no, I was just
completely blank.
Yeah, so obviously the Toymaker is a character from your favorite era. How are you feeling about next week?
Apprehensive.
I was going to say, I bet you're worried that he's going to mess it up.
I don't think it's a case of messing it up. I think it's just a case of that people are already hating on him.
Yeah.
Hating the character, that I'm like, I hate them back.
I mean, it's like there's the amount of people that'll be like, oh God, bloody musical number, and just give it a chance. Because I mean, that is what that is the kind of role Neil Patrick Harris was born for.
Yeah.
Give him a chance.
Also, like, I'm sorry, like, to anyone who's hating, I've seen How I Met Your Mother, and I will tell you, he's the best thing from that show. He's one of the best things because of his energy. Like, he's perfect for this character. Like, he's gonna bring it, And I think, honestly, he'll this is one of the things I'm interested to see. How is the Doctor going to beat him? Like, how? In what way can he beat him this time?
I've got a very specific theory, which I've told you already.
Do we want to wait till next week for you to tell us that theory, or do we want to say it now?
Well, I wanted to say it now, but
say it now.
Say it now then.
So that scene when 14 looks up and the Toymaker stood above him with the puppeteers.
Yeah.
I think that's reality he's controlling.
Okay.
I really hope it's some weird contortionate thing that Donna starts moving like a weird puppet, and he's like, what the hell? And then he just looks up, and Donna's on strings from the Toymaker, and he's manipulating. And because everyone's noticed that their waistcoats are made of the same material, I wouldn't be surprised if 14 is also on puppet strings without realizing. And when the Toymaker in the trailer cuts the strings?
Yeah.
What if that's the end of 14?
Yeah.
Literally they're connected by literally wearing the same waistcoat pattern. Why is that? It's because Toymaker's made the Doctor. It's made 14 happen.
What I think would be interesting is if he doesn't beat him. And this is all just a case of I don't care about, destroying everything. I just want to see you beat. Now I'm done. I'm out of here. Because, he's been waiting so long to actually get his own back on the Doctor, because he's this character who thinks he's the Doctor's worst enemy. So I think if he manages to just end 14, then he's happy and he could go.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to see if, because I've kind of had this in my head for a while since they said that Neil Patrick Harris was going to be, we're going to guess the Toymaker.
Yeah.
I was like, is he going to be, I'm thinking, is he going to be that meta commentary of New Who fandom? That he's that was him and the Doctor and Donna was his favorite thing to watch, his plane of existence. And he's just, maybe it's the thing of 14 isn't what he expected. I know he's done playing with his toys.
Yeah. Now, just one more thing I want to point out just before we end, because it is getting on a bit now.
Yes.
I have said this multiple times in just general conversation. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I've got a horrible feeling that Donna's going to die in the next episode because she's had far too many narrow squeaks. She managed to get rid of the meta crisis very easily. She had the fake out death as well in the Star Beast. Then she got rescued at the last minute before the explosion got to her in Wild Blue Yonder. She's had far too many narrow scrapes. She's gonna die in the next one.
It's also the case.
If she doesn't, I will eat my hat.
It is also the case that, like, there is a trailer clip where the doctor says, "I don't know if I can save your life this time." What if it's that because the last 2 times he's managed, somehow it's managed to be done? Now it's in question. Like, it's like there's two ways to see it going. Either Donna dies and the doctor does regenerate, and that he's left in a certain state after it, or 14 realizes he can get out of it, but it would mean that Donna would not die, and it's either a sacrifice play. That it's his life.
We'll just have to wait and see. I have theories though, especially because of that picture of Shooty crying in the graveyard.
Yeah.
What if I will say,
dun, 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 coming soon.
That's my theory. What if it's Donna's grave?
Dun,
anyway,
dun, dun. And on that note, the end.
Time to end. Bye, bye, everyone.
Right, guys. This has been the Dripping Hartnell podcast.
We're done. Go away.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.